Welcome back to the weekly roundup. It's week 20, and we've got a bit of a special one for you this week. We are basically going to cover a few stories, obviously, like we normally do. But as you can see from the tabs, we've got a lot to speak about in terms of Ripple, XRP, the whole shebang for you today. But yeah, without further ado, let's dive into it because there's going to be a lot of info for you guys.
We are
Are you
deep
ready?
diving into Ripple and XRP. Everything that we can think of, well, not everything, but a lot of things that we can think of off the top of our head, speculation wise, Ripple wise, XRP wise, why we think something big is coming. After 1 minute of quickly rounding up the news, we're going to get in deep on XRP and Ripple.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we
Yes,
are.
we are. We'll start off with this news. Obviously, pretty big news to be fair. Obviously, today it started. Tomorrow it's going to be going on tomorrow as well. We've got a big meeting going on in Jackson Hole where all the big boys are going to be there. They're going to be discussing. I forget what the actual topic is. There's an actual specific topic for the whole conference for a couple of days. In terms of, I think it's just mainly interest rates and what they kind of plan, what they want to achieve in terms of all that sort of kind of stuff. So it's going to be big for the markets in terms of, obviously if he comes quite hawkish, then it's going to have a negative effect on the market. If you see the language he uses quite dovish, vice versa. The big effect anyway. It's a big meeting. We don't know what's come out of it yet because obviously it's 6 o'clock here in the UK and it's actually going on right now. So
Yeah.
we'll be reporting on that next week anyway. But just something to keep your eye on. And if you do see any volatile price action, it's probably going to be down to something that's come out of this basically, because there's a lot of influential people there.
Yeah,
It,
basically,
this
isn't Powell
my
just
my article's not like loading. It's got all the names of like all the people that are there, etc. So
Yeah, Powell's just like basically saying what his projections are for interest rates in America, like over the short and long term, you know.
yeah, basically. And there's obviously people from ECB, load of other big names there as well. But my computer's struggling right now, guys. I'm not going to lie to you.
We're going deep, guys. I'm telling you.
But yeah. Another thing that's come out as well is obviously we spoke last week about China starting to pivot and reduce their interest rates, which I'm pretty sure they did again as
Yeah,
well, like
they
a
did a
secondary
second one.
reduction as well, like a couple of days after. So they're really are starting to pivot quite quickly. And they've also planning to release $29 billion in special loans for troubled developers. Obviously, it's news now. Everyone knows about it, that China's real estate market is about to go down the pan. We've got all these big developers who have such a big pull on the like the Chinese economy. They've all got these buildings which are basically half finished, and it's not looking very good right now. So they're basically getting bailed out by the government, which was probably the best thing / only option that they had left in terms of this.
Yeah,
And they've got $29 billion flying their way. So
they've
let's see if
massively
that
overbuilt.
fixes it. Yeah,
Massively overbuilt.
it's a mess over there, even more of a mess than the US. But obviously, these guys have actually got $29 million funding coming their way. So let's see if that helps them. And then quickly, final one. It sounds like we're rushing, guys, but we've got a lot to
We've
get
got a
into.
lot to get into.
This is actually quite an interesting one, actually. So Will's obviously made a TikTok on it. So if you do want any more information, either refer to this thread or go visit Will's TikTok because he made a decent TikTok on it. Basically, Bored Ape yacht clubs are in a potential trouble here because basically there's this thing called Bendao. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Bendao, which is basically a loaning platform where you can basically stake your NFT as collateral and then obviously get your loan or an interest. I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
What is it?
that's right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's right,
You
isn't it?
stake your
Yeah, yeah.
NFT as collateral. You can get about 30 to 40% as a loan. But obviously, when people were staking their NFTs, they were probably like the top floor price for Bored Apes like 150 ETH. ETH was like $4 a pop, so that's like 450 or what's that, like $600,000.
Yeah.
And now they're down to like at the minute 68, 69 floor, 70 floor. With
Yeah.
ETH being at 1,500, so that's like it's literally on the fringe of the liquidation rate. When it gets liquidated, they basically all have to go up for auction, and it's auction at like whatever price they can get for it, literally.
Yeah. So,
If it goes below 68 Ethereum, you're going to see potentially cascading liquidations for all the lending platforms because they all work pretty much the same as BendDAO.
yeah. So not good for if you've got one of your bloody NFTs on there anyway.
No, not
I'm
good
trying
for
to find
them.
it.
But then
I'm trying to see here. It's like 2.8% of the whole
yeah,
of all the
of the
board at yacht
supply.
clubs are on this lending platform. So
Yeah, but I did
there's a lot.
see, I did listen to a podcast saying that someone else who had a similar sort of website platform as this. They got interviewed on Real Vision, and they were saying that only 1% of Bored Ape holders have ever basically been liquidated from any of their loaning things, because they all had the collateral to pay back for it when it got close to the time.
Yeah.
Basically.
Well, let's just see what happens.
Let's see. It's still
this is a developing thing. Like, it's been going on for like a week now. I think a lot of people have known about it. It's just, let's see if actually anything materializes from that, because it could be quite bad. That could. But now we get in to Ripple. The rest of the tabs are all Ripple focused. We're going to be jumping into like their relationships / partnerships with certain central banks, other partnerships, the whole shebang, everything here.
We're jumping and deep diving here into what we know about Ripple, XRP, their relationships with countries, why we think they're going to be a big part of our financial future, why we're heavily invested into XRP, the asset. This is hopefully an all-you-can-eat video now for Ripple and XRP as a special edition 20th episode of our weekly roundup. 20 weeks of the podcast. We're going to go deep onto our favorite cryptocurrency and why it's our favorite cryptocurrency.
Yeah, so we'll start off with their white paper, and they're relating it to obviously the CBDCs, all that. I can't actually download it on this, otherwise I would have got it up, but you can fill all your details in and actually read their white paper here. But we'll start off with this tweet as well, because this number here, it's changed, hasn't it? So it's not 80% anymore. There's actually, was it 95, did you say?
Yeah, I think it's 95%.
So these are all the countries at the time of this. This is back in 2021. All the countries that were kind of like testing, exploring CBDCs. This is obviously developed quite quickly, especially over the last year with everything that's going on. So even this picture is obviously outdated now as well. So it just shows how much of the world's kind of like leaning towards CBDCs and or adopting that kind of technology.
Exactly.
And then we're just going to obviously, because the reason we're showing you this is because Ripple are obviously, which we'll go into that anyway in a second here. Yeah. But if we'll start off with this quick article here, which basically talks about DLT technology, which is obviously Ripple's technology, or how they leverage XRP. And this article basically highlights, the UK are like basically front runners in this kind of technology and adopting it and testing it, etc.
Yeah.
Pretty good read anyway if you've got some time. If you don't have too much understanding about it, it's good to like get this read. It's quite.
Yeah, so I just wanted to point this like specific article out, like Innovate Finance, because I'd made like an hour video on it on YouTube. If you want to go and check that out, from about 4 months ago. It's on my live section on this channel. But it's when the UK came out, their finance ministers like John Glenn, I think it was, who's like the right hand man to Rishi Sunak, or when Rishi Sunak was in charge of like our monetary decisions. They talked about how the UK is looking to explore distributed ledger technology, which is what the Xrp Ledger is, to basically host some of their sovereign debt, which would be things like sovereign bonds, etc. So that's basically the article showing you that they talked about it. Obviously, as it says there, that they're gonna basically try it out, and they've got a bill now to say that they can experiment with it. And then if we go to the next tab, we just want to link that to this. And what's this, Pav?
So obviously we spoke about this. I think we've actually spoken about this in a few of our previous episodes, and it's just basically we're trying to establish that Ripple and the Bank of England have some sort of relationship with each other. So this obviously an article published back in 2017, and it was basically Bank of England saying that they've been testing with Ripple's proof of concept, that there's actually shows that there's a relationship there between the two. And obviously if you couple that with the fact that this whole article, like I was trying to say, UK are front runners in the DLT kind of technology. They've been working with each other. It's just a small link we're trying to put in there together.
Yeah, there's multiple publications on the Bank of England website if you want to read through them, but this is obviously the first one. The point is that it's going all the way back to 2017 with the testing. And then the next one's obviously mad as well.
The next one's mad because obviously this is literally on the Digital Pound Foundation's website. You guys meet the team. First person there is Susan Freeman. Now she's obviously chair of Digital Pound Foundation, like it says there, but she's also head of policy at Ripple as well. So yet again, that just shows that there is obviously a mutual link there between the two. Not only have they obviously worked with Ripple themselves and tested with each other, there's also someone who's playing quite a pivotal role at the Digital Pound Foundation, obviously being chair, and she's also head of policy at Ripple. So again, just connecting some dots up there for you guys.
Yeah.
Nothing too much to read in there if you want to do it. And there's also obviously here that shows Ripple there, our clear partner there on the actual website.
Yeah. And this, which is
And
just madness. And then the
staying
next
on the
one.
UK,
Yeah.
we've got this as well. So like, I don't know if you guys know, but Ripple basically hold this annual event called Ripple Swell. They talk everything about Ripple. They normally make big announcements regarding Ripple and what their kind of vision is for the upcoming year, etc., and how they've been doing. And this year, they announced, I think it was yesterday, they announced actually that they're going to be doing this year's Swell in London. And they've never ever done it in London before. It's always been Singapore and what was it, America that you
Yeah,
said?
San Francisco was the first one, then it was Singapore, and then the last two were online, obviously, because of C19. So
C19, yes. But this year they've gone ahead and announced that they're doing it in London. So it just begs the question. Obviously, me and Will obviously discussed it off camera. Why are they coming to London to do the Swell? Like,
yeah.
are they going to announce something?
Oh, jeez. Like in the last Swell, they announced Liquidity Hub. That was their big announcement from the last Swell. So that obviously like gives institutions the opportunity to leverage crypto assets in general through their Liquidity Hub solution. This year, there's been a lot of things like happening, weird things happening in London specifically. We had Chris Larsen, who's a co-founder of Ripple, go over to London to speak to Sadiq Khan, who was the mayor of London, or I don't know if he still is, but he was the mayor of London at the time. That was documented on like BBC, and I've talked about it many times in videos before. We also had Ripple on August the 1st change their name in Companies House, which is like where you register to be a business in the UK, from like Ripple's Europe to Ripple's UK Markets Limited. And Chris Larsen, for some reason, has exited the board on that. So that's another one, like linking Chris Larsen to London, but also not linking it. Like, it's a bit of a weird one. It frees him up to be potentially, in my speculation and opinion, the chairman of something that could have a conflict of interest with Ripple, i.e., like Bank of England or somewhere around there, like that sort of thing. I don't know. Like, what would you speculate? Why else would Larsen not be on the board of Ripple?
I don't know. I mean, like we said, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, we were trying to relate it to the case, but then obviously you made a good point saying that SEC don't have jurisdiction over the UK, so that kind of eliminated that. So for me, it's just like I'm not too sure why they've done it or why it's
Yeah,
happened. There's got to be obviously some sort of reason because he wouldn't just voluntarily, resign as board from Ripple, would it?
for sure.
So there's got to be some sort of thing there. Like I said, it could be anything. I'm sure we will find out in the due course, but like I said, it's a strategic move. There's
Yeah,
something
I
behind
think
it,
so. And
and
go on.
it could be to do anything. Go on.
I was just gonna say that, like, I think a lot of people in my comments from a video that I made today, like trying to sum some of these points up, were saying, oh, like they think that Ripple are moving out of San Francisco and into London as their headquarters, and like maybe, but I also think that wouldn't really make too much sense because the UK and America are super strong, like partnership wise, in terms of like finance, trade, everything. So I don't think that the US are gonna, if like the UK are gonna, like, let's say for example the UK are gonna structure their digital pound on the XRP ledger using Ripple to help them design their CBDC through their white paper and all the other things we're going to talk about in a second. They're not going to do that without like the US knowing. They're going to do it together. Like things like this, they've got to be interoperable with each other. So it doesn't make sense for Ripple to be leaving the US just because people are saying, "Oh yeah, because of the lawsuit." That doesn't make sense to me. They're not going to leave the country. They might, like in terms of their headquarters, but I don't think they'll leave and go to like a partner. That's what I'm trying to say. If they're going to leave the US, they're probably going to leave and be based in Asia somewhere and work with people in Asia who are like not necessarily along the same path as the US. They're not going to leave to like America's neighbor and really start things there unless it's like a big FU to America or there's a bigger play behind this that we don't know. But I can't imagine them completely leaving their headquarters in the US to go and set it up in the UK to then trade with the US again. I don't think that makes too much sense to me, but that's just something that I wanted to clear up from the comments I've been getting because I just don't think it makes sense for them to leave San Francisco to go to London.
No, I agree with that. To be fair, it won't be in their best interest to do that. I don't think.
No. The next one.
That's the next one. So obviously, it's transitioning away from the UK. So obviously, we've discussed how they got links with the Digital Pound Foundation, all this kind of stuff, and then we go to more of the Euro thing. So we've got the Digital Euro Association here, right in front of us here. You go onto their website, and you go onto the community, you go on members, I think it is, and they've obviously put it in a bit of a hierarchy, like gold, silver, bronze, or whatever. And there's only one gold member on their website, and it's Ripple. The rest are, silvers or whatever. But they've only got one gold member, and it's Ripple. They put them straight at the top, making some sort of link here between the Digital Euro Association and Ripple. And then we can also go onto this tab. Now, it doesn't really show it on my screen, so I don't really know what it is, but they've got some sort of white paper on here, haven't they? Well,
yeah, on like, I don't know, maybe it's the browser, or maybe it's because it's like an Apple Mac or whatever.
Yeah.
But on my browser, when I open it, there's a download underneath the digital euro there for a Euro CBDC white paper, and then it says coming soon on the right side, the digital Euro stablecoin, like some sort of paper for that. Which will be regulation. There's that MiCA regulation that I talked about previously in other videos. I don't know what the next tab is.
So this is basically the ECB, which is the European Central Bank now, obviously using the European. So we're trying to make a link that they obviously support everything that the Digital Euro Association do anyway. So just kind of establishing that link here, because we covered this, I think, last week or the week before anyway. So if you go visit this, because it's a good read anyway. But
yeah, and just touching on that one quickly before we just go on to the next one, is that the narrative has shifted a little bit with the digital euro from they were saying like, oh, do we want to have a digital euro? This is why we might want to, this is why we might not. To last week, the narrative actually changed to the ECB saying that CBD, this is like to do, so obviously digital euro is a CBDC, central bank digital currency. The narrative switched last week towards them saying it's imperative to have a CBDC to keep the financial system going. So that's what was really interesting, how the narrative swapped from, oh, we might not, we're testing with this, and then all of a sudden now it's imperative for them to go forward with the CBDC.
Exactly, and Ripple obviously, whether
massively
you like
connected.
They're obviously massively connected in there as well. So again, not saying anything, guys, but we're just connecting dots for you guys. That's all we're doing.
Yeah, this is all. Hang on, this before we like go much further. This is like cold hard facts, guys. This is just facts. This is just websites. Like, this isn't speculation. We put some of our speculations on top of what we're reading out to you, but we're just like showing you, like, we're showing you the Bank of England website, we're showing you the Digital Pound Foundation website, showing you the like Digital Euro Association website. Now, World Economic Forum. This is their website. So like, this isn't us speculating, conspiring, anything like that. This is straight, cold, hard facts about Ripple and XRP.
You're going to have people sitting there thinking, oh, look, here we go again. They're just, they're almost, it's a bit of opium. They're trying to, like, make up some sort of narrative to justify their investment, something like that. But end of the day, how can you argue when Ripple's names are on black and white on these guys' websites saying that they've, worked with them? They start describing their kind of technology that they're using and stuff like that. So, like I said, like Will said, it's not as kind of, conspire or anything like that. It's literally cold hard fact for you. And here's another fact for you: the World Economic Forum have officially partnered with Ripple now as well. So it's another big partnership, and it's another big name that Ripple's a part of, and links as well. So
yeah, and the first line of that is just so interesting, because it's like literally what Ripple talk about all the time, and the World Economic Forum are just listing that. So they're just saying there, like, Ripple is doing for value what the internet did for information, enabling its instant and seamless flow around the world. So they're literally saying there, Ripple are enabling, like, the internet of value, which should, like they've said in the next line, Ripple calls us the internet of value. And one other thing I did want to point out is at the bottom, they talk about where Ripple has offices. And they've said, look there, San Francisco, obviously where the headquarters is, New York, London, Mumbai, Singapore, Sao Paulo. Do you get where I'm going with this? The three countries I keep saying to watch: India, obviously Mumbai, Sao Paulo, obviously Brazil, and London, obviously the UK. Just saying. Then Reykjavik, Washington, and Dubai. But we haven't really talked about Dubai and the UAE, that sort of area, too much in this video. So there's a lot to do with them as well that we haven't actually managed to even get time to talk about, because Pav's computer will crash if we open any more tabs.
Just struggling like this, I'm not gonna lie to you. But we'll go to the next tab. Next tab's basically a photo with, I don't know if you guys are going to actually be able to read this, but because I don't know if I can. Can I click it? Let's see if I can click it. Oh no, it's
Oh,
gone to a different area. That's
there's a
not what we
guy.
want. Who's this guy?
I don't know.
I don't know. But anyway, here's Brad Gardenhouse right here. I'm going to obviously go in here. There's loads of people from the IMF. Obviously, Christine Lagarde was there when she was at the IMF. But obviously, she's now with the ECB. But there's a lot of influential people, and it just kind of, we just want to highlight the fact, Brad Gardenhouse rubs shoulders with these kind of caliber of people, not just this specific picture, but
Often
every year, on a month to month basis. These are the kind of people he's dealing with. So it's not like he's just kind of taking a back role in the company. He's out there conversing and speaking to these big names. So
100%.
that's we just thought we'd throw that photo in there anyway.
Yeah, and on the back of that, there's like there was all the speculation about the Banque de France picking the XRP ledger for CBDCs. That came out in 2018. And then there was speculation about Christine Lagarde maybe going to work in France to bring that through. But I think she's more influential at the ECB personally. But obviously, she's been at the IMF, now she's at the ECB. ECB are talking about digital euro. Ripple are writing the white paper for it. Like, it's all like trying to piece all these pieces together, in my opinion. And then obviously this is their, so we originally showed you the CBDC white paper, and this is their recent update to the CBDC page on the Ripple website. I'll let you take it over, Pab, here. What does it say there?
Yeah, so we actually just saw this, and we'll just watch the video whilst I was setting up the tabs anyway. So it kind of tells them what a CBDC is, how Ripple can potentially help, and connect all these CBDCs together. And she's got a lot of good information on the website here anyway to describe why choose Ripple, go through all this stuff here. It goes through all the steps that it does to get there.
If you just go over like 1 second, there's like an important part here. If you that bit.
This bit.
Because I think this is important because if you don't need to scroll up, but further up the page, they say that they are testing on a private XRP ledger, which I think is super important because there's no other blockchain really offering that solution to like central banks. And there's another important point there, step 6, which says destroy, and a lot of people are going to be like, oh, so they can destroy XRP. No, that's not the case at all. What they're saying with the CBDC platform, and if you go and watch the video above, which I'm actually going to probably post on my TikTok soon, but we can just quickly talk about it. They're basically saying that you create and mint tokens on this network, whether it's the private network or the public XRP ledger, and you can use all these options with the token that you then produce. Then how CBDCs work and where XRP comes into this is it's actually based on the XRP ledger, if you imagine that as a network, and for them to be able to communicate with each other, you need a neutral bridge asset or a settlement token, and that's what XRP is, and that's why we're all after XRP. The more volume that comes onto the ledger, the more countries that bring their CBDCs onto their banks, that bring their stable coins onto there, or use different aspects of the XRP ledger. That's where the real value for XRP comes over time. It's not that the euro is going to come on and they're going to use the euro instead of XRP, because for like domestic payments, that's what the euro is going to be used for, and then the settlement across border is what we're looking for. Hence why they focus on cross-border remittances. But they need any token based on the XRP ledger. Whoever creates that token has the opportunity to be able to destroy it, redeem it, change the amount in circulation, but not of actually XRP. When you create the token, there's something you can do called black holing your token, and if you black hole your token, you can then not destroy what's been made. But if you don't do that, you can destroy it at any time, basically. So there's just loads of options out there that you can like do with like tokens on the XRP ledger. And that's the same for CBDCs. All CBDCs are, and all like digital currency is a way to move value from one place to another. That's all it is. And that's why it's coming. That's why all these countries are like, oh, we need it. It's a seamless way, open source way to move value from one place to another. They're all building it on the XRP ledger, or a majority of people are. That's why all these white papers are out there, because it's the fastest and most sustainable, as it says on here. And it's had over 70 million ledgers closed with no accidents, no problems. Not going to name any names, but Solana have fucked it loads of times. Ethereum, like, look at the gas fees. Bitcoin, look at the proof of work. Look at the environment. Like, nothing can compete with it in terms of like mass payments and how they're literally aiding like legacy financial institutions and traditional finance. That's basically the point I was trying to get to with all of that I've just spewed.
There's a lot of information right there, but no, you hit the nail on the head there. Nothing can really like compete with it. But go watch that video, guys, when you got
That
a bit
video
of time.
is flipping insane. I've never seen it. It came out, I think this came out like yesterday, and I've been away until like last night, so I hadn't even had a chance to watch it until we were just getting this ready.
So, and then the bottom of this obviously speak about Bhutan and Palau as well, but we'll start with Bhutan because it's going to link us into to India as well.
Mm-hmm.
So with ripples, oh, I don't know if you can hear that. It's going on in my eardrums right now.
No.
Just trying to link Ripple with all the countries that it's kind of got partnerships and ties with.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously got Bhutan as well, and then they do a lot of what's that? Was it? Well,
Yeah.
How much they export in the Indian rupee?
It's either 80% of imports and 90% of exports, or the other way around, are between India, and the Bhutan's national currency is called the Nagultram, and I'm pretty sure it's tied to the same price as what the Indian rupee is.
Right.
So I just think that's super interesting because of, or obviously you can speculate on that if you want to speculate on that, but one extra thing that I wanted to just put in about India, that we talk about this a lot, me and Pav, I always just chew Pav's ear off about XRP obviously, but we talk about that one of the ways that XRP was initially going to launch was they were going to airdrop it to a load of people in India and just get them to use it like a normal currency, because they've got high interest in India with the demographics, the cheap data, these sorts of things. They thought it would be a great way to launch. And also we've had loads, like it says on the World Economic Forum, got loads of offices opening up in India, and a lot of the jobs in the offices are things like working with the central bank to create central bank digital currencies, central bank project manager, these sorts of things on the Ripple website. And that's it. And then we're on to Palau, aren't we?
On to Palau as well. Obviously, I think we covered this in one of the episodes as well. Partnering with Ripple to help create our national digital currency is a part of our commitment. So they've obviously got big ties with Palau as well.
And the thing with Palau is that I'm pretty sure their dollar, they're tied to the price of the dollar, or use the dollar as their currency. So that would be the first government-backed stablecoin when Palau launched their dollar on the Xrp Ledger. They also they have like culture in Palau where they lend and borrow money from each other. Like the breadwinner in the family will lend money to his family on Fridays. And although this might sound like a stupid story, what it actually shows is if you can have basic lending and borrowing, that's actually DeFi on the XRP Ledger, because you can make some specific, maybe not so complicated smart contract where you're like, okay, or even an escrow where you're like, look, I've lent you this amount of XRP or dollars on the XRP Ledger that needs to be paid back to me by this time. And that's the sort of optionality that it shows you that you can create on the XRP Ledger.
Do almost anything on that, can't you? But moving away from that, we've got another country. Obviously, we spoke about this last week, so we won't go too much detail on it.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Ripple partnered with TravelX. Obviously, these guys have got exclusivity with FX trading in Brazil. Mm-hmm. So, and I can't remember what figures we were spewing last week, but there was the huge amounts of money going through.
740 trillion.
Yeah, something ridiculous like that. And obviously, Brazil and obviously TravelX are CB. They're approved by the central bank of Brazil as well. So. Yeah. It's not just like some small like little bank. It's a well-established bank as well, and moving. So that's obviously Brazil. We've gone for all those other countries, and then we also reported on this as well in the past. They've got ties with partnerships with Tranglo as well across 25 different payment corridors. This obviously helps them kind of get their foot into the Asian market kind of thing, because obviously these guys specialize in that kind of region. Yeah. Do you have any stats on Trangler?
Yeah, if you look there, so you see like Ripple, the leading provider of enterprise blockchain crypto solutions, acquired a 40% stake of Trangler. Trangler do about the same sort of volume as Western Union, but just in the Asia Pacific region. So they're massive, like they're huge.
Yeah. And so these are the partners with Trangler as well. So you got Alipay, loads of big names here that these guys
WeChat Pay.
There it is there, right? Let's get rid of that. Mm-hmm. So Tranglo in their own right are massive anyway. So obviously them being partnered with with Ripple to obviously sort these cross-border payments or what these keep coming up.
Yeah, and the reason I wanted to specifically point that out with their partners, and we talked about this before, obviously there's 25 countries there. It says, look, over 100 countries, 1,300 banks support Tranglo, but Alipay and WeChat Pay specifically, if they've got partnerships with them, or at least are in connection with them in some way, Alipay and WeChat Pay process like 90% of payments in China from mobile to mobile payments, and their market for it is ridiculous. I don't want to quote you the number, but it's in the multi-trillions, multi-trillions for like domestic payments via mobile or cross-border payments via mobile in China, and they've got 90% of the market between them two.
That's crazy. It just shows the scope what we're looking at here in terms of where it could potentially go.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of came out fairly recently as well, a couple of days ago, is that the UAE are now part of the Triangular Connect network. So it's just another corridor that, you know, Ripple could potentially exploit as well. But yeah, we spoke about Saudi. We mentioned them at the start, but I don't think we've got too much more about them in this, but we can obviously talk about them another time.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there with like Lulu Exchange and Egypt and stuff, but we haven't even got time to really go into that.
No, because now we're moving on to Japan. Japan. So we've got I'm gonna let you pronounce it because I'm just gonna totally butcher that city.
No chance, bro. Fuku. Okay. No, I don't know how you say it.
Yeah, all right. That city. So they obviously this is I think you told me, but off camera, it's the fastest developing city in Japan, right?
Yeah, that's it.
And so obviously they welcomed the mayor and Ripple over there again. Not saying anything. It's just, you know, they're speaking to Ripple and connecting with them, talking about obviously leading in Web3 initiatives in Japan as well. Mm-hmm. So the most developed, quicker.
The fastest growing
city in Japan are obviously having chats with Ripple as well.
Yeah,
and who knows what's going on behind closed doors there.
Exactly. We don't know what's actually happening there, but all we know is they apparently came for a tour, in inverted commas, of the Ripple headquarters. Why would the mayor of the fastest growing city in Japan just go for a tour of a random fintech company's headquarters? Fly all the way to there, just have a look around the web.
It might be a nice office, mate. You know
I'll fly over there and have a look at your office, mate. Yeah, a bit of table tennis or something.
But no, like I said, guys, we're not making up any story. This is just what's happening here. So it's just what you want to believe from it. But we'll move on anyway about that. So don't know too much about DTCC.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to dive into this?
Yeah, I can do. This is this is new information from this week. DTCC, as far as I know, they're a platform that settle like derivatives and securities. They've chosen R3 Corda as their settler. And R3 Corda, there's a deep connection there with Ripple and XRP specifically. As it says here, R3 had XRP as their first settlement mechanism. For those of you who don't know, they used to be partnered with Ripple. They fell out. There was a lawsuit, private lawsuit. No one knows what the outcome of the lawsuit was. But the speculation is that off the back of it, R3 had either an option or got between 2 and 5 billion XRP. And if you still look on R3's website, the recommended settlement for wholesale settlements is with XRP on their site. It's not the only way they can settle. You can use like XDC, these sorts of things. But I just think it's interesting with the DTCC. If you go just quickly back to that tab before, I don't know exactly, just want to see the volume of how much they do. It's right at the bottom, I think. Yeah, there, look, $2.4 quadrillion in securities in 2021. Quadrillion, that is. 2.4 quadrillion in settlements in 2021. That is ridiculous. And I just think, obviously, that doesn't mean all of it's going to go to XRP or anything like that. But if even 1% of that gets settled on XRP, what's that like? 2.4 trillion. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So
I think that's enough, yeah.
Yeah, just for 1%. And the reason that it's so interesting that they've chose R3, and Japan it links to as well, is that SBI Holdings, Yoshitaka Kitao, has, I think they've got a 6% stake in Ripple and the same stake in R3. And he said he wants to take both companies public. Just a very vested interest there between Japan's Yoshitaka Kitao, SBI Holdings, R3, Ripple, and we know that R3 hold that much in XRP. And as I said, they're not necessarily just going to settle an XRP, but it's one of their settlement options, and they have between 2 and 5 billion XRP.
they're actually everywhere, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like I was just sitting there thinking like Ripple are actually like they've got their hands in a lot of baskets, haven't they, in terms of like country wise, and it just goes back to like the point that we said, I think it was last week, that obviously we've got the lawsuit going on in America with the SEC, but they actually are kind of acting right now as if they've lost the lawsuit. They're just this is the kind of stuff that they're cracking on with. So when we mentioned that last week, saying, "Oh look, they're they've just kind of forgot about America at the moment and they're just carrying on with day-to-day business." This is what we're talking about. We're talking about Japan, Brazil, India, all these different countries, Bhutan, Pilat, all of them. They're everywhere.
It's crazy.
So,
It's actually crazy to look at.
so that kind of just goes back to our point last week. Like we said, people thinking if they lose the lawsuit, they're finished. Like they're obviously not. If they've got all these multi-trillion, multi-quadrillion like dollar partnerships, so
Um,
it's
yeah,
crazy.
and then the last thing, like, well, we've got one thing after this we're going to touch on, but this is just a thing that I think gets overlooked a lot, and I do try and bring this up sometimes with my videos, but Ripple have like a UBRI association, so obviously it's called University Blockchain Research Initiative. They basically donate to different universities around the world, and I think if you scroll down, there might be like a list of them. I'm not sure.
There's a moving list, yeah.
Yeah, and then like if you go like there's just some examples there. So there's like University of Michigan, UCL, which I think is very important. That's University College London. It's like the third most prestigious university in London. There's a lot in like the UAE, sort of like that sort of region of the world. Zurich, obviously, is that Switzerland? I'm not sure off the top of my head. But yeah, University of Korea. We know Korea is huge for cryptocurrency. If you go down a little bit more, it tells you exactly how many there are. 40 universities, 18 countries, 280 courses, and 500 academic blockchain research reports. So the reason I really stress the importance of this is that they're bringing the next generation of entrepreneurs and helping them find courses, create research projects, write about crypto in general through funding and like just accessibility. Who do you think those entrepreneurs are going to go and want to work for? That's one major thing that I think. So that's a massive part of like the future of finance is obviously the people who are coming up through universities. And the second major part that I think people overlook from something like this is that a lot of research for central banks or banks in general come from universities. You'll get academic people to go and write research report. Okay, what do you think of this asset? What do you suggest for this going forward? And they take into consideration the thoughts of some of the up and coming brightest minds in the country, which are universities. So I think this is a massively important thing that Ripple are doing here, essentially.
Yeah, I think you're right there in terms of the fact that it kind of gets overlooked because people just kind of see it as them as not many academic stuff coming out of universities because they're not really well established. But again, it's a good thing to see that they're doing that anyway, investing into like education for the youth.
Exactly.
Then we've got a couple more tweets just to kind of end this anyway. But I think this was an interview with Brad Garlinghouse. Basically interviewing in terms of like what else he wants to use Ripple/XRP for, just instead of like cross-border payments. I think what was he talking about? Obviously here, security insurance settlements. There was a lot he spoke about in here as well. You won't be able to hear it because you never press play. I'm pretty sure it doesn't play.
No, it doesn't.
No, it just plays in my earphones anyway. But
yeah,
just go ahead and watch it.
They just ask him what else XRP or Ripple are going to try and do, and he says, as it says there, security settlements and insurance settlements, and that takes us back to some of the first tabs that we talked about with sovereign debt on DLT with England and stuff, and the UK. Sorry, so that was mainly the point in that. Sorry, excuse me.
And the final one, I've not actually watched this one, so
yeah. So the final one, this actual video is from a year ago, and it's Jerome Powell, head of the Fed, talking about a global stable coin. The points that he makes is that it would be a neutral company, a private company, and they'd also be super heavily regulated. I just think it's interesting verbiage to be resurfacing right now when we're seeing all this regulation around crypto, and I want to link it in with a few little things. Obviously, last week we saw the Fed would say that they could give access to their master accounts to any like crypto bank. Ripple, obviously a registered company in Wyoming. The other crypto company who registered in Wyoming was Kraken. They're now registered as a bank. So that was one thing. That would give them access to the Fed, and that would be obviously the American monetary system. if they were going to be a global stable coin, well, what happens in terms of regulation? Well, if XRP specifically and Ripple have regulatory clarity all around the world, and from and from 4 of the 5 regulators in the US, apart from the SEC, which they're fighting for regulation at the minute, maybe at the end of that, they've got super tight regulation that he's talking about here. And I want to leave you with one final thought, because my voice is going. And my final thought is what Jimmy Valley came through and said about an XRP buyback. Why is that interesting? Do I think XRP is going to be bought for $35,000? The answer is I don't know, but realistically, probably not. But the important point, and what people are going to overlook, and I hope you listen to this part, is that if there is some sort of deal to be done, some sort of buyback, we know that any country, even in like a democratic state, if your technology is deemed systemically important, they need it for the country. It doesn't matter whether it's your property or not, like you have to give it up. You genuinely do, whether you're a company, whether you're a payment system. For example, in the UK, they were trying to build a new rail system called HS2. If your house lay on where the railway line would go, you had to move out of your house. You have to move out. Yes, you get paid well for the house over what market valuation would be. But if you've got sentimental value to the house, whatever like that, doesn't matter. If it's in the best interest of the country, you have to give it up. So the point of that article, in my opinion, from a securities lawyer, who's Jimmy Valley, which makes it so smart, is that we now have legal precedent. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. We now have legal precedent. If they want to buy back XRP and they come in for a low price, let's say $10, let's say they offer everyone in the world $10 per XRP, we can be like, legally, we know that it could be worth up to $35,000 because of this article that was written by a lawyer. Then we have some negotiation room to be able to talk about the price of XRP. And that's what I want to leave you with, that thought, because I literally can't speak anymore.
You've done a lot of speaking, but let's see if I can find this. Because we've got to speak about Gary Gensler, don't we? Just to end the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Gary. All you need to type in is Gary Forbes. And the good stuff will come up if my computer allows it. Because, please come up. What we'll do is we'll go to our Twitter. Forbes actually released some sort of article and they've titled Gary Gensler resign. That's literally what they've titled it. Let me see where it is. There it is. The main man himself. Gary Gensler resign. Basically, article goes in just basically, there's no other way to put it, basically bad mouthing Gary Gensler, saying how he's everything we kind of say every week here, but I just thought we'll bring it to everyone's attention if you've not seen it already anyway. But Gary Gensler resign.
Yep. I mean, you can't say it any better than that.
You can't. It's coming from Forbes itself, so he's got to resign now, isn't he? So
is that the law?
That's the law. Forbes said it. That's the source. Source Forbes. But no, that's a very extensive episode there in terms of Ripple. I don't even think we've covered everything, but that was literally us. We'll mainly just kind of going through what was on top of his head in terms of trying to link everything together. But
yeah, it was really brought to my attention from Swell in London. Sorry, my voice is really going, but it was really brought to my attention from Swell in London. I thought, and I've been on the phone to you this morning, I was like, look, we've got to talk about this today because there's so much going on. Like, it was a lot of speculation before, but now it's all coming to the forefront, and most of what we've shown you, all of that, obviously from the websites there, is fact with our thoughts thrown in. We've missed out on some speeches about like some areas like the UAE, Saudi, Dubai, those sorts of regions, and some places in Asia, Indonesia, Japan. Not that touched on it too much, but I literally can't talk anymore, so that's gonna have to be it for me, bro.
He's done so much speaking in this episode. Hats off to you. Hopefully, you guys have enjoyed week 20. That was a Ripple special. Next week we'll obviously try to cover more news. But to be fair, this week there wasn't actually much going on. But let's see what comes out of obviously today's, like we spoke about the meeting at the start today and tomorrow as well. See what effects that has. But until next week, until
Yeah.
week 21, we'll catch you guys
And if
later.
you enjoyed episode 20, don't forget to sign up to the newsletter. Peace up, A Town down, as Usher would say.